The sun sets on another semester here at Ohio University, but it rises elsewhere.
While Ohio students are struggling through the bleakness of final week, they can look forward to a distant glimmer of hope from the Ohio University football team attending a bowl game. We'll talk about that and much more tonight on Ohio Sports Zone.
Welcome back to Ohio Sports Zone. I'm Alex Utano, joined by my good buddy and John Kosis. And John, the women's basketball team this morning added a little bit to their successful season. They started off right now 4-2 on the year, and they won this morning 79-52 over Indiana University at at Fort Wayne. The big win was highlighted by Kiana Black with 21 points and a great effort here by the green and white.
Good old Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne. It's a very interesting abbreviation, but it is IPFW, and that's how I'll be referring to it for the remainder of the time we're talking about them.
Yeah, it's a little shorter, you know.
It really is. Kiana Black was lights out, though. In the first quarter, she had 10 points. That's the same amount of points that all of IPFW had, rather. And in the win, the Cats started off, they had an 8-0 run to begin the game. This is the exact opposite the men's basketball program has been thus far this year, getting out to quick starts and shooting well. Kiana Black overall was 8 for 10 from the field. She had a season high in total points, and she has just been absolutely on fire this year for the Bobcats. The team also played very well defensively. They had 6 steals to go along with 8 total blocks. It's just an overall good team effort that came from this Ohio team.
And it was nice to really see them bounce back after a 62-59 loss to Vanderbilt a couple nights before. It's nice to see that even though they can lose these tough games, they can bounce back, especially with a statement win like this. You also had Kiera Lampkins playing pretty well, 14 points and tacking on 4 assists and 6 rebounds. Yamin Jenkins, if I mispronounced that, 8 points and 2 assists for her. It's an all-around team effort from this basketball team, just up and down the roster. They're getting a lot closer due to the experience they've had over the years, especially with last year going to the NCAA tournament. So they're a program on the rise and definitely something that sports fans here at Ohio University should look at.
A big thing to highlight that has kind of signaled how well this team has played this year, particularly under Bob Bolden, has been their victory that they got over a Big Ten school. It was Indiana. They won 63-56. It was Ohio University's women's basketball team first win over a Big Ten school since 1994. I don't know about you, but that's the year I was born in.
Same.
It's been a long time for this Ohio University women's basketball team since they've beaten a Big Ten opponent. And again, it signals how well this team has played recently and how they're kind of getting over that loss against Arizona State last year. While that was still a very good basketball team, Ohio's showing they can compete with pretty much anybody in the NCAA.
December 6th is the next time this volleyball team will be in action, and it'll be against St. Francis right here in Athens, Ohio. Moving on now to the football team, a stunning win right before the break, the Tuesday where students finally were able to rejoin their families for Thanksgiving break. They upset NIU 26-21 in a segment of the schedule where historically, over the past couple of seasons, they've really had a hard time gaining these wins, especially against a tough school like NIU, who even earlier this year beat a ranked Toledo team. So how significant is this win for this program?
Yeah, Ohio football has been about as clutch as the Dallas Cowboys in the month of December, in the month of November for them. They've just not played well recently under Frank Solich, but They get the 26-21 win over Northern Illinois. The Huskies never had a lead in the entire game. They played very well, and part of it came from Jordan Reed. He had 66 reception yards, he had 1 touchdown, and he continued a torrid November. He has been absolutely outstanding. He had a 3-game touchdown streak in November. To go along with that, he had a total of 272 yards and 4 touchdowns in the month. That's compared to 616 yards and 5 touchdowns the entire season. He's really improved.
And if you want to speak of improvement, look at this Ohio rush game. Over the past couple of weeks, they've been absolutely dismal, but that last game, they had 230 yards, and of course, it was aided by A.J. Ouellette's 140 yards for him. NIU only had 73 rushing yards total, so it speaks to the defensive side that Ohio's actually getting it done against these more important MAC schools, and also speaks to the offense showing that they can step up when they really need to.
It's important that they were able to do that because this weekend is bowl selection weekend. We'll see if Ohio can get a bowl. I doubt they won't get a bowl. It's just a matter of where they will be going, and a win over NIU can definitely seal the deal and get them a very good bowl, maybe going back to the Idaho Potato Bowl. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the men's basketball team on Ohio Sports Zone. Welcome back to Ohio Sports Zone. The Ohio men's basketball team had a big matchup against Marshall 2 nights ago. They won 85-70. They won big, but it doesn't tell the full story. Against a team that is winless this year, Alex Utano, who's right beside me, has more.
Well, the Marshall basketball team, as you said, 0-4 on the season, dropping to 0-4 after this big loss to Ohio here in Athens, Ohio. 85-70 was the final score, and you got players like Antonio Campbell really stepping it up. 15 rebounds, 7 points, 2 blocks, and then Jerron Simmons, 25 points, 6 assists, and 2 steals for the transfer student. As well, you got Treg Setti really making a big statement with 10 points, as well as 4 rebounds and 2 steals. And now this was one of those players that really needed to step it up for Ohio if they wanted to have any success this season. And that was a big step in doing so, especially when he struggled to average double-digit points per game totals last year.
Jerron Simmons has been absolutely outstanding for this Bobcats team. Like you said, Alex, he had 25 points. It was off of 9 of 15 shooting. This is the second game this year out of 5 total games played that Simmons has scored 25 or more points. He also has 30 points in a game this season for the Bobcats. He leads the team in points per game with a little bit over 17 points per game and assists per game with about 7.7 assists per game. It's a very good average, but he did not take care of the ball well against this Marshall team. He had 7 total assists compared to 6 turnovers, and that's just not solid work from your point guard. You always want a positive assist-to-turnover ratio. This time it was negative, once again, 6 assists to 7 turnovers for Jerron Simmons. And on the season, that's not been the case, but this Ohio team overall has been sloppy with the ball. It continued against Marshall, 19 turnovers, and they only shot 61% from the charity stripe. Those are things they're going to want to clean up if they want to be successful against better teams.
And then a player who's been under the microscope since arriving here at Ohio University, Kenny Kaminsky, the transfer from, I believe it was Michigan State. He led the Big Ten in three-point percentage. He had another decent game. He hasn't looked terrible right out of the gate. He's not exactly getting those free throws percentage like he used to with Michigan State. I believe he was 2 for 4 this past game. But 15 points is a pretty good start in the right direction. You got 4 rebounds and a steal as well for him. He's doing pretty well, just adjusting after not being able to play in the NCAA for an entire year. I didn't expect a quick start from him, but now he's warming up to the task. And against a Marshall team, too, that had some pretty productive players. You got C.J. Burks, 20 points, James Kelly, 18 points. But after that, the point total drops significantly. It goes to Ryan Taylor with 8 points, 5 assists for the young man, but it wasn't enough to power this Marshall team as the home crowd here in Athens, Ohio, and the Bobcats on the floor really got the job done.
Both Burks and Kelly had career highs for Marshall, as you said, 20 points and 18 points, respectively. It's a young Marshall team. They're not very successful right now. They haven't been successful in recent years, but with this base, they can be successful in a couple years, and Ohio plays them every single year. It's definitely going to be something to look out for. Heading into the future, Ohio's going to play against St. Bonaventure and Cleveland State. Those are 2 road games, and those are 2 tougher teams that this Ohio Bobcats team is going to have to face off against. First, the Bonnies are 4-2. That game will be Saturday at 4. There are two players you want to look out for. The first one is Marcus Posley. Posley averages 18.3 points per game. The other one is Dion Wright. Dion Wright is a massive forward. He stands in at 6'7", and he averages 17.3 points per game and 8.8 rebounds per game. It's going to be up to forwards such as Wiley Montpelier to cover him, and hopefully he can defend him well in the post, because that's where Wright has been outstanding, making power moves in the post, whereas Montpelier is an underweight tall player. He's 7 feet tall, but does not have a lot of strength in the post.
Well, Montpelier actually is coming off a pretty solid game off the bench for the Bobcats, 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. If he can continue to play defense well against these tough St. Bonaventure shooters, it should be a pretty good game for the Bobcats. But another player on the St. Bonaventure side that you want to look out for is Jalen Adams. Now, he only has 13 points per game average as compared to 17.3 and 18.3 for Posley, and Wright. But he leads the team with the best three-point percentage with 273. Now, he's shooting pretty well from behind the arc, but he's going to have a tough task with these Ohio defenders.
The next game is against Cleveland State, and the Vikings will be playing at Quicken Loans Arena. This will be a good practice for the Bobcats, because that's where the MAC tournament is held after you make it past that first round. Last year, the Bobcats did not make it past the first round of the MAC tournament, so they did not get to travel to the Q for the first time in over 4 years. This is Saul Phillips' marketing strategy to tell the team, look, you can play in a big arena that seats over 20,000 people. All you have to do is win during the regular season, and let's not even bother with a play-in game. We have the talent on the roster. You can see the excitement in having 20,000 fans. Here it is, Bobcats.
Well, the 4-2 St. Bonaventure and Ohio Bobcats will meet for their next game. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, but when we come back, volleyball will be the topic. Welcome back to Ohio Sports. I'm Alex Utana, once again joined by John Kosas. And John, the Ohio women's volleyball team has concluded their season finishing 25-7. Their most recent game, they were swept against Dayton. However, they were able to capture their 9th MAC championship title with a 3-0 sweep over NIU.
They played very well in the MAC tournament, and that gave them a lot of momentum, because Dayton is another team that qualified for the NCAA tournament. Basically, that means after getting swept by another team that qualified, it might be rough, particularly playing against a ranked Brigham Young University team that they will be playing against. But coming back to the MAC tournament, you already mentioned they swept the Huskies 3-0. In the semifinals, they beat Kent State 3-1 set. This is a team that really had a torrid pace throughout most of MAC's schedule. They went through one small segment where they struggled, and then they hit it back up once again once they got into tournament play. That's exactly what you like to see.
Well, the Bobcats were 13-3 in the MAC, and in that sweep over NIU, Mallory Solis really stepped it up. 19 kills for her. Abby Gillen with 3 Ks and 43 assists for her. And Jamie Cassiorki, who leads this team in kills, also chipping in with 10 kills. You like to see the leaders of this volleyball team, especially the veterans, step it up in a big game like that, especially when they want to make a statement going into this game against the number 13 BYU in NCAA play. This is a big moment for them, especially after the disappointing loss to Western Michigan in the MAC semis, I believe it was last season. It's good to see the Bobcats back on top.
Yeah, the Bobcats have struggled against Western Michigan these last 2 or 3 years, and they didn't have to meet them in the tournament this year and ended up winning the MAC championship. You saw a couple of huge players for Ohio in the MAC tournament, though, and they've been dominating all year long. The first one, you already mentioned her, is Jamie Kasoriak. She averages 3 kills per set on the nose. She's just been such a great scorer for this team, especially the year after Kelly Lamberti graduated. Then you have Karen Bolt, who had 119 blocks throughout the season and close to that many sets played. That's what you're looking for out of a strong and tall defensive player. And finally, Meredith Ashe had 613 digs. Coming out of the back row, that's what you're looking for. Someone that can just keep the ball in the air and give it to another player to set up a strong attack. And it's a very underrated statistic, but oftentimes a player like Meredith Ashe is fundamental to the success of a volleyball team.
Well, now looking into this matchup against BYU, there are quite the number of players that the Bobcats need to look out for. You have Amy Boswell, 256 kills, 33 assists, and 132 block assists as well. Then you also have Kersey Barnett, with 217 kills. Now, those are two players right off the bat, but I know there's one that you want to specifically look at.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Alexa Gray. She is one of the top players in the entire NCAA. She is an outside blocker, and man, she has been outstanding this season. She logged a total of 521 kills. You don't get much better than that. It's over 5 kills per set, and in addition to that, she had 51 blocks in just 101 sets. Not only is she getting it done on the offensive end, but from the outside, she's blocking about half a ball per set. She's one of those players that can make a big difference at any point during a game, and if it's in the first set, it might be enough momentum to bring this number 13 ranked BYU team to a sweep over Ohio.
Well, the Bobcats do have some players that can help them to an upset. As we talked already, Jamie Kasiorki, 336 kills to lead this team, but you also have Shelby Walker, 272 for her own right. Mallory Solis with 228, as well as Karen Bull with 208. Then you also got the setup girl in Abby Gillen with what the website claims to be 1,223 assists. We had a little dispute about whether that number was correct. It probably is not, but the fact of the matter is she can set up her teammates, and she's going to be a key cog in this machine if the Bobcats want to pull off an upset.
And the very important thing for this Ohio team is they have to play as a team. They have to play at 100%, because if BYU plays at 90%, it might end up being a close matchup. If Ohio plays at 90%, it's not going to be a game at all, because this BYU team is one of the tallest teams in the NCAA. They are one of the top 5 teams in blocks in the NCAA, so it's going to be important to really put your back behind all of your spikes and all of your shots over the net, really, because this Ohio team has to get past a very physical defensive unit.
Well, communication is going to be huge here, because in terms of just communicating where you are on the floor, setting up your teammates, this is going to be where all that communication really comes to fruition, because this is going to be the toughest team that they could face all season unless they're able to beat them and advance farther in the tournament, But these girls have been gaining a lot of chemistry together, just working over the years, with near success last year, really grabbing Ohio University headlines by being such a fantastic team, only to fall short to Western Michigan. But this time, they got over the hump, and now this is the big game to let everyone at Ohio University know that they're the real deal.
Like you said, Alex, this team has been enormously successful in each of the past couple years. What's important about this squad is that they have the ability to be the upset maker in this tournament. That game will be played this weekend. You're definitely going to want to stay tuned to see what this volleyball team does. But when we come back, we have a special segment wrapping up the entire semester here on Ohio Sports Zone. Welcome back to Ohio Sports Zone. I'm John Kosis alongside Bobby Levine and Alex Utano. This year has been an outstanding year for Bobcats sports, and this semester we've had a number of great moments. We're going to break down the top 5 moments this semester for Ohio University sports. Standing in at number 5, you have the delay of game against Minnesota in a 27-24 loss after Josiah Yazdani was iced.
It was just such a shame to see them call that. What happened was it was a 56-yard kick return by Daz Patterson to set up the whole play. Ohio moved a little down the field to set up Yazdani for a 54-yard attempt, and Yazdani took the practice kick, even though he was iced, but they called that a delay of game, pushing the Bobcats back 5 yards, forcing them to go for the Hail Mary, and I'm still scratching my head over that call. I just do not think I agree with that at all.
Absolutely agree with you, Alex, there. But first, you have to say the Big Ten officiating in that game was horrendous. I've never seen a call like that in my entire life. It ended up costing the Bobcats a potential overtime challenge against Minnesota and potentially an upset win. Luckily, the Bobcats got back on track after that and finished the season strong.
All right, now that all the negatives are out of the way, Let's move on to number 4. The Ohio baseball team and the Ohio women's basketball team both had ring ceremonies this year after Ohio's baseball team won 6-2 over Ball State in the MAC championship, and the basketball team won 60-44 over Eastern Michigan in the MAC championship last year.
Yeah, you could definitely tell the teams, the women's basketball team and the baseball team, completely flipped scripts. The year before, the men's baseball team went 11-40, 7-20 in the MAC. They finished the season last year 36-21, 17-10 in the MAC, and 4 consecutive wins in the MAC tournament to get the MAC championship. Also, women's basketball the year before went 9-21 and 4-14 in the MAC, and went on a 1-14 in the last 15 game stretch, which is horrendous. Finished the season strong at 27-5 this past year, 16-2, and had a 20-2 stretch before the MAC tournament. Congratulations to both those teams.
Yeah, it was such a feel-good story for both of them, just the historic struggles of the programs, only to really have this moment of glory, even though neither of them were able to get a win in NCAA play. It's still feel-good stories, especially the one I like to highlight. Connor Sitz is the first no-hitter in MAC tournament history in a 6-0 win over Bowling Green.
The women's basketball team has started off to a torrid pace, and the baseball team has recruited a number of players to continue that stretch. Now coming in at number 3, Ohio University had a big homecoming win over Miami. The final score was 34-3. It always feels great to beat a rival.
Especially when you were at that game where Ohio played as number 23 in Oxford. And Tyler Tettleton, how many timeouts do you have? But they did get the win here, 34-3, and it was wonderful for all the fans supporting the Bobcats in attendance, highlighted by 243 yards in the air by Darius Vick and a touchdown as well. Malik Irons really leading the way with the run game with 49 yards and a touchdown, and they only held Miami to 253 yards of offense, so good job for them.
Absolutely. That extended their record to 5-1 total, which is a great start for the Bobcats. The Bobcats also outrushed them 248 to what you said, 253. And they didn't allow the Redhawks in the red zone at all that game, which is an unbelievable stat.
We're not done with the football talk yet, though. Coming in at number 2, Ohio finally got that elusive victory over NIU. The score last Tuesday, 26-21 for the Bobcats.
Yeah, big congrats to the Bobcats on the football field. That's the first win against NIU since November of 2009. Makes the season a final of 8-4 record, which will secure a very nice bowl game. Last year we were 6-6, had the bowl berth, but did not get a bowl game, unfortunately. But this year with an 8-4, you cannot hold these Bobcats out of a nice December bowl game.
And that big win, with highlighted by 230 rushing yards, the reemergence of that rush game, it also puts them in place, like you said, to get a great bowl game against an exciting opponent. And we lacked that last year. And after the Beef O'Brady Bowl against East Carolina, I wanted more of that. So now we get that, a more taste of success from this football team.
Ohio has been bowl eligible for 7 consecutive seasons now. It's great to see after head coach Frank Solich has come in that this Ohio Bobcats team has really had a great success story after a couple of years where they were really just in the gutter of the MAC. Now finally, the moment you guys have all been waiting for, the number 1 play or game of the semester. That was the volleyball team winning a MAC championship. They swept the Huskies, Northern Illinois once again being defeated here 3-0, and they will play Brigham Young University in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
And what an exciting moment for this program. As we said earlier on in the show, they could not get over that hump last year, falling to Western Michigan, and as you said, they avoided them completely, luckily for them this year, and are finally able to get into the NCAA play. And with their fantastic players, Abby Gill and Jamie Cassiork, just fantastic leaders for this team, it's hard not to be excited for the run the volleyball team is about to try and make.
Absolutely. They had a little adversity. Right before the MAC tournament started, they lost 3 of the 4 matches. Then they won 5 straight, only losing 1 set in those 5 games. They ended up getting really hot at the end. And good luck to the women's volleyball team against BYU in the tournament this week.
There were so many great moments for Ohio University sports this past semester. Next semester, there are going to be plenty more moments of greatness. You've got the men's basketball team that's been on a tear. They're going to play against St. Bonaventure this weekend. The women's basketball team started off thus far 4-2. Once they get into MAC play, they're really going to be making a run. You can't forget about teams like the swimming and diving team or the wrestling team, who has been enormously successful. And then, of course, once you get towards spring sports, Savannah Joe Dorsey is going to be healthy again for the softball team. And the Ohio baseball team will be looking to repeat in MAC championship play once again, because again, I can't stress enough, fourth-year head coach Rob Smith has looked great. And that's all the time we have left for this semester on Ohio Sports Zone. We'll look to see you again next semester.
Happy holidays and Happy New Year, guys.
What he said.